My uncle. He's always been a pain in my butt, but the one thing I did not expect was for him to try to manipulate Grandma so that he could get everything in the inheritance. Yeah, I get it. That's his mom. He deserves something. But when I walk you through exactly what he said to his mom, my grandma, you won't believe this man, and I won't let him get away with it. When I finally took a vacation from work and returned home after over a year, I was expecting to sit back, relax, and catch up with my family. Many of whom I've not seen for a while, but things that have happened have left me wishing I never took this vacation in the first place. Let me explain things so you guys can catch my drift. I'm Lex, 23 and male. 2 weeks ago, I came back home to spend a few months with family and just to chill. I graduated a year ago and worked a small job for a year. And since I was changing jobs, I thought that I should take some time off in between. For anybody who doesn't know, taking some time off in between changing jobs is the best thing to do. If you're changing jobs, take some time off for yourself, it's worth it. So, since I had a few months off, I came back home. Let me tell you a bit about my home. Before I moved to another city for college and stayed to work, I used to live with my grandmother, Robin. Well, for many years, she took care of me, and as I grew older, I started taking care of her. Many years ago, when I was still very young, I lived with my parents and grandma. Unfortunately, both of them passed away in a boating accident. I do not like to talk about it. And my grandma had to take care of me. My parents left me a good amount of money, so I didn't have to trouble Grandma with financial burdens and stuff, even though it would not have been much of a problem to her in the first place. I mean, come on, she has money. I say that because my grandmother is very rich. My grandparents have always been rich, but from what I understand, my grandpa was not really a great person. So he kicked everybody out of the family, probably because he thought everybody wanted his money, and, well, he was probably right. My parents, uncles, aunts, and many other family members built their own lives. Even though some of them probably hoped to inherit the money and live an easy life. I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing to hope to get some financial help from our parents, especially when they're filthy rich. But my grandpa cut off everything except my dad, whom he trusted very much, but my father wanted to do something on his own and ended up refusing to stay at the family house, so he inherited nothing. I'm happy father made that decision because my grandpa would never have allowed him to marry Mom because she was a waitress, and I would have never been born. After Grandpa passed away, Grandma reached out because she didn't want to live alone and moved in with us. And when Dad refused to come back home, well, you have no idea the surprise I got when I found out that he had several properties to herself, but she still lived with us in a small apartment. After my parents passed away, my grandma decided to look after me. And for a few years, all of my other family members were probably mad at me because they assumed that I was going to get everything. But as soon as I realized the internal politics of my family, I told Grandma that I was not interested in inheriting anything, just like my dad. He chose to get away from this life for a reason, and I did not intend on finding out. See, my grandma never liked this and always was emotionally blackmailing me by saying that it was kind of like her last wish that I take at least a little bit. Whenever I said that it was not fair, she would laugh and tell me that she was not a fair person. Well, I lived a very happy life with her and only faced a tough choice when I had to choose between going to college and taking care of her. The college I wanted to go to was 2 cities away, and I didn't really want to leave my grams, but she didn't want me to compromise for her sake and force me to go. I wanted to take her with me, but she said that I would, enjoy the normal college life like my parents wanted, but I was worried. It was my Uncle Kevin, who stepped up and told me that he was going to look after my grandma until I was able to come back. Now, I knew that Uncle Kev was most probably only doing it because he wanted a portion of the estate, but I also knew that he did care about her. Plus, I did not mind that he wanted some of his own mom's wealth, because that is fair to ask, am I right? So I happily went, hoping that he was taking care of Grandma, and he was, but he also did something else. I did keep checking in from time to time, but for the last year and a half, I had not been able to go home. So when I came back recently, I found my grandmother a little more annoyed and unhappy than usual. She had never been the happiest person ever, but she used to be a little more loving than she is now. I let it go at first, believing that I was just maybe overthinking it, and since she had not seen me for a long time, she was very happy at first. But in a few days, I started getting the feeling that something had changed. I wanted to speak to her about it alone, but my uncle never left her side. When I asked, he told me that she needed constant monitoring, and a lot of things had changed since I left her to go to college. He basically told me that I had no right to tell him what to do. Fortunately, I found a chance to speak to her when my uncle was busy in the washroom. I asked her what was wrong, and she told me that lately all of her family members only looked out for her financial help. That's all they want. She thought that each and every one of them was only waiting for her to die so they could take her money. I told her that's not the case, but she refused to listen to me and told me I did not know my family members. I could not believe it. She actually had pure hatred for our family members. It was surprising because my grandma was not the type of person to stay mad at a family member and loved helping others. She was not like Grandpa at all. She told me that she only trusted Uncle Kev, Aunt Liv, his kids, and me. Before I could say anything else, my uncle came waltzing in. And every time I tried to bring up this type of stuff with him around, he would either immediately change the topic or say that I was getting things wrong. Then I started actually noticing that my uncle was being very weird and controlling, and I felt that there was something going on. When I was visiting other family members, I spoke with Uncle James, who told me that my grandma had stopped speaking with anyone outside of her home. A few months after I left, she stopped visiting anyone or coming to family events and would barely speak to them when they visited. When they asked Uncle Kev, he said it's due to her health and the medicine that she was taking, so they let it be. But Grandma's health has remained kind of the same for a pretty long time, because I never stopped monitoring it. This made me more suspicious of Uncle Kev, even though I didn't want to think so bad of him. If it were not for him stepping up, I probably would not have ever gone to college. So of course I didn't want to suspect him. But I also could not ignore the state of things, and yesterday I practically watched grandmother and uncle as much as I could, hoping I could find something, and what I found, it was pretty unbelievable. Well, it's going to look completely obvious to you guys because of how I have framed my experience, but I did not think my uncle was behind all of this at all. Why? Well, because I trusted him and because I believed he was not capable of anything like this. Yesterday, I overheard Grandma and Uncle Kev having a conversation where he was telling her how ungrateful her family was. I could not believe it. He was fully manipulating her and probably have been doing it for years. She told him that maybe if she spoke with Uncle James, she could find out why he has become so greedy. And he told her that he keeps asking for money and probably wishes that she would leave him a big chunk of her wealth and just pass away already. I could see my grandma start to tear up, believing that most of the family members thought this way about her. And then she said that she was happy that she still had a few family members by her side. It really made me mad that my uncle has been doing this behind everybody's back so that he would get everything from Grandma. The funny thing is, things actually got worse. My uncle then told Grandma that she should not trust me fully, as I could also turn out to be the same way as my other family, and told her that he was only saying this so that she would not get disappointed later. But Grandma actually got mad at him and told him that she had asked him to stop talking about me like this. She said that I was probably the only family member who did not care at all about her money and only loved her. She told her uncle that no matter how much she disagreed, she knew that even he expected some amount of inheritance from her, but not from me. You can't imagine how happy it made me to see my grandma stand up to him like that. When the manipulation did not work, he quit and promised that he would not talk about me that way again. I went back to my room and struggled to believe what I had just witnessed. It's been a day, and I still can't believe that the uncle I trusted so much has been manipulating Grandma, and I don't know what to do. I do feel bad, because I'm the one that chose to leave her with him, and my decision, has now led to this disaster. I have no idea how long my uncle has just been straight up manipulating her, and I'm pretty sure that I can't convince her that he's doing so. I mean, what do? Do I confront him or do something else? Any type of advice would be so much appreciated, and I really do respect it. Thank you. Update number 1. Hey guys, thanks for the suggestions and also for some mean comments. I appreciate all types of feedback. It's been a week, and I'm sure many of you will disagree with my decision, but I made it anyways. Before I tell you what happened, I need to make a few things clear. Firstly, the problems that I'm facing are completely my fault and no one else's. I left my grandmother with my uncle, and I should have been the one checking up on her to see if everything was okay. Maybe if I had come home a lot more, or if I had not worked a job last year, we would not be going through this, but I'm not going to keep dragging myself because this is not the solution. Secondly, I understand that many people, if not all, in the family care about getting a part of Grandma's inheritance. So what Uncle is claiming is not at all wrong, but that does not give him the right to manipulate her so that he gets everything. Plus, he has made her believe that nobody in the family actually loves her, which is devastating for a person like Graham. So yes, I was a bit mad at him when I wrote the post. After my post, I took a few days to decide what I should do, and after thinking a lot and considering many of your suggestions, I decided something. I decided to confront Uncle Kev and see what was actually going on and why he was doing all of this. I mean, I already knew why he was doing this, but I wanted to hear it from him. So the day before yesterday, I asked my uncle if I could speak to him privately, as I wanted him to be the one to tell Grandma everything. So without wasting any time, I told him everything I witnessed and told him how disappointed I was in him. I asked him how he could do this to us. I told him that the only reason I confronted him was because my dad trusted him a lot, and due to that, I wanted to give him a chance. At first, he was acting dumbfounded, but as I spoke more and more, he realized that he could not get out of this and just broke down. With tears streaming down his face, well, he said that although he did want some money from Grandma, he did not start taking care of her to do this. But after taking care of her for a year, he could not help himself. His greed took over, and he ended up making her believe that everybody was after her money. He begged me not to tell anyone in the family, and he told me that he was going to make this right. When he felt that I was not convinced, he swore on his son's life that he was going to change. I was actually planning on talking to him and then going to Grandma and tell her everything too, but hey, I felt bad for him. So I agreed, and he's promised to take back everything and convince my grandma that not all the family members are gunning for her to die to get her money. Many of you guys might not like the decision, but I trust Uncle Kev and will wait to see what he does. And don't worry, if he doesn't, I will expose him to do it myself. Update number 2. Hey guys, what's going on? It's me. I'm back for an update. So it's been a little more than a week and things have gone to hell. Firstly, I apologize to anyone who suggested that I should not trust my uncle and asked me to tell everyone the truth in the first place. You were right. It turns out that by trusting him, I chose to hit my own leg with an axe, to put it simply. I ducked up and found out. So, if you guys remember my last update, my uncle told me that he was going to make things right and was planning on telling Grandma good things about the family. Well, it turns out he wasn't doing it. And all of this time he was actually looking for a way to get rid of me before I ratted him out. And since I happily believed all of his lies, I just sat there waiting for him to attack me like an idiot. Which he did. So, one morning, Uncle Kev, he asked me to get some documents out of Grandma's vault and gave me the pin and keys to open it. A stupid mistake. I brought him the stuff and he asked me to keep the eyes with me until I was here because my grandma wanted me to have them. She was getting her therapy massage, so I could not speak to her, and I just left to hang out with some buddies. When I came back, I was shocked to see Grandma and Uncle waiting for me in the room. As soon as I entered, I noticed that my grandma looked heartbroken, and my uncle started accusing me. It took me a good second to realize he's framing me for something I had no idea about. My grandma just asked why I did this, and said that she genuinely believed that I was different than the others. I told her I didn't even know what she was talking about. Come on, what you yapping about, Grams? And then my uncle showed me the very costly necklace that I had hid in my bag after stealing it. Apparently, I had come with him to the room where he was taking the files and had seen the jewelry in the safe and stole it later. I immediately took control and told Grandma everything that happened. I told her that he's manipulating her, and I had asked him to restore the damage, so he was framing me. I told her how he asked me for the files, and even though I had the keys, now I'm pretty sure that he predicted I would do that, and had already said something about it because Grandma just got mad at me. She looked at me and told me that out of everyone, she never expected me to do this. Money hungry, huh? Well, this made me mad, so I told her I've never cared about the money since the day I was born and never will. I told her that, well, She can just choose to donate all the money and I would still help her do it. I was only here to see her because I cared, and other than that, I could not give a flying duck. She looked a little bit convinced until Uncle spoke again, which hammered the last nail into the coffin. Grandma told me that she never wanted to see me again and asked me to get the hell out of her house. So even though I didn't want to, I left. And I told my uncle that I would see him again. For now, I've moved in with my friend Andy, who lives not very far from Graham's place, and have decided to bring Uncle Kev down. I gave him a chance, but he chose this, so I'll make him regret it. Update number 3. Hey guys, this is it. Final update. It's been a month since the last post. A lot of things have gone down. So if you remember my last post, my uncle framed me and I got kicked out of my grandma's house and moved in with Andy. He's one of my good friends, and when I explained the entire situation to him, he agreed to help. I sort of already had an idea that Uncle Kev was doing something with my grandma's property, because I had overheard him discussing it with her more than once. Then I assumed that she had asked him to do something with it, but now I was sure that he was doing something else. I rightly assumed that he was selling off smaller properties by telling her that some family members needed them. This did 2 things at once. He got to either keep or sell the property for himself, and he made the family member he threw under the bus look bad in front of Grandma. Andy has a friend who works as a broker, and with his help we figured out that Uncle Kev was actually planning on selling another property, which gave me a great opportunity. So I went around and visited my family members and recorded them talking about Grandma. I also confirmed if they had asked or taken any financial help from her in the recent years, and they obviously said no. I collected as much proof of my uncle selling Grandma's property as possible, but I could not find much. Almost 2 weeks later, I got in contact with my uncle using Andy's broker friend, and made him a really great offer, as they say you can't refuse. I made him think that I was going to buy it right away, the property he was selling, but the only condition I had to see was I wanted to see the property with him. Well, he agreed, and a few days later, Andy went with his friend to distract my uncle. I went home and found my grandma sitting on the balcony alone. I then slowly approached her and told her I want a chance to prove myself, and if I could not convince her, I would go away forever. I already knew that she would not be able to say no to me because she desperately wanted to believe me. I then gave her all the proof I had explained to her, how Uncle Kev was manipulating her by making her think none of the family members cared about her. I did not lie to her at all. There were a few family members that cared much more about the money, but most others, like Uncle Jimmy, cared about her, man. Well, she was suspicious, but I did not have enough to push her over the edge, so I came up with something and had a good chance of working with it. About an hour later, Uncle Kev came back since I made Andy cancel the meeting after making him wait. As soon as he came in, Grandma told him that she wants to discuss something. Uncle asked, "Okay, well, what is it?" And Grandma told him that she had decided that she was going to do with her fortune and had called the lawyers. She told him that she was giving away 90% of her wealth and was going to give him 10% of everything, which, mind you, is still a ton of money. Well, I knew that his greedy mind could never accept it. He got so mad that his face went red as a beet, and he could not control his anger and started screaming at Graham. He said he had not wasted all this time planning and taking care of her just to get a small little crumb, and he said that he was going to take everything, even if he had to do it by force. Obviously, she was surprised and asked him if everything he did was just to get her money. Well, he said yes. Yes, it is, since day one. He went as far to say as he would have offed her a long time ago if she hadn't changed her will to make him the sole inheritor. She then told him to forget about getting a penny from her, and he started walking towards her, saying that she would not be able to stop him. I then slowly came out of the other room and told him, "You're right. She can't stop you. But good ducking luck with me, buddy." He could not believe his eyes and immediately understood that I had made her do this. He tried to change his tune and started telling her that I was trying to manipulate her. But Grandma had had enough. She then called security, and before he got dragged out, she told him that she was cutting ties and he is out of the will. He screamed as he got dragged, and my aunt watched in complete surprise at how crazy her husband was. It's been a few weeks since then, and my uncle's been completely cut out of everything. aunt has also filed a divorce from that idiot, and all the family members have refused to help him. I've decided to stay and look after Grandma, and I will work from home if need be for a few months. Lastly, I want to thank you guys for going through this with me, as your suggestions have been a big help, and I surely would not have gotten here without you. Hopefully, this is all the drama I have to see for a long, long time.